What's going on, guys? I'm Steve. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. If it's your first time stopping by the channel, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you won't regret it. If you're a returning subscriber, as always, guys, welcome back, and I do appreciate the support. Guys, listen. Out there in Canton, Ohio, a couple of days ago, there was a police video that surfaced from something that happened on April 18th involving this man right here. This is 53-year-old Frank Tyson. May he rest in peace. Ladies and gentlemen, this man crashed his car into a telephone pole, got out of the car and went into a bar. Police arrived on scene, met up with Mr. Tyson in the bar, and bedlam ensued. Now, he said in the video while he was on the ground, "I can't breathe." This guy got arrested, put in handcuffs, and died right on the spot. Now, I'm going to show you the video and the news article about it. A lot of people are making how can I say this? A lot of people are coming out with their own opinion about it. And, whether the officers was right or wrong, I'm just going to give my input. Take a look at the video, and we'll come back and talk about it.
Tonight, police in Ohio releasing new body cam footage showing a man who became unresponsive during his arrest, was later pronounced dead at a hospital. His last words heard in the footage, "I can't breathe." In the video, we hear Frank Tyson yell those words out at least 7 times as cops try to subdue him, with one officer putting a knee on his upper back for about 40 seconds. We are only going to show you that moment once, and we have to warn you here, it is incredibly disturbing.
I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't. You don't want that. I can't breathe.
That's the story right there. I'll be glad I reached it for you.
Okay. I can't breathe.
You're fine. Yep. Shut the up.
This all happened last Thursday when Tyson allegedly crashed his car into a pole in Canton before running into a nearby bar. You can see here police finding the damaged pole and what they say is Tyson's car nearby before bystanders directed the officers into the bar where Tyson was. An altercation, a tussle between Tyson and the officers starts nearly immediately. That's when they start trying to take him to the ground. The coroner says Tyson's cause of death is still pending. The officers involved are on paid administrative leave while officials investigate. There is, of course, some very obvious overlap with the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis here, who was murdered by a police officer who kept his knee on Floyd's neck for nearly 10 minutes as he, too, cried out, "I can't breathe." Floyd's death and his last words becoming a rallying cry for the Black Lives Matter movement, spurring huge protests against police brutality in this country. NBC's Dana Griffin is following this one for us. And Dana, we'll get to that overlap again, not an apples to apples comparison, but let's start with this video, which shows almost everything from start to finish over the course of 35 minutes. Explain that and where things go from here.
And I want to walk you through that timeline. And I think there are 3 key moments here when you look through this video that lasted some 35 minutes from the time they arrived. 40 seconds, an officer kept his knee on Frank Tyson's back. And then it took about 5 minutes, 29 seconds between the time he last said, "I cannot breathe," and the first time we actually see officers check his pulse. An additional 3 minutes go by before they start doing CPR. Now, I think what's most disturbing about this video, as you mentioned, they weren't holding him down for several minutes as people pleaded with officers to ask them to get off, but it's the what happened after he was in handcuffs. And you notice that he was very combative, yelling out, "Call the sheriff." And there's actually a woman in that video who says, "No, they're here to help you." So it's clear that he's in some sort of mental crisis or health crisis here. And even when officers get him handcuffed, he doesn't make a peep. To go from being so combative to not saying a word should have been the first indication. You later see the officers making jokes about, at least one of those officers making a joke about always wanting to be in a bar fight. And it wasn't until they looked down and realized something's not right here that they finally call an ambulance. But it still took several minutes, even after that ambulance was called, for them to start administering CPR. Listen to what else they said during that body cam video.
Can you calm down?
Yeah, he might be out.
Breathing? Does he have a pulse?
I didn't feel him. Can you tell medics to step it up? It was not responsive. I don't know if I can feel a pulse.
So both of those Canton police officers are now on paid administrative leave as the department investigates. And actually, there's a state department that's actually taking over this investigation. And the mayor says that they plan to be very transparent about what comes out in that investigation. Hallie?
We talked about how Tyson's death is coming nearly at the 4-year anniversary of the murder of George Floyd. There were so many promises of police reform back then, including, in some instances, the suggestion for reforming tactics that restrict the way that a suspect can breathe. Talk us through that piece of this, Dana.
Yeah, and I think, Hallie, just those haunting words of "I can't breathe." We've heard in several cases where people were killed, they died after pleading with officers to help them. And this was the same plea that this man made in this video. And I think with a lot of police departments after the murder of George Floyd, there were talks about, you got rid of the carotid chokehold because of what happened to George Floyd. There was talks about not keeping detainees in that prone position with their faces down. A moment you saw this person with his face in the carpet. And so it raises the questions of why was he not flipped over? Why was he not checked on immediately after being put in those handcuffs? And a lot of those questions will hopefully be answered in this investigation.
All right, guys, that's the story of Frank Tyson. May he rest in peace. And it's unfortunate that it ended like that for that man. Now I'm gonna tell you something. Said they had their foot on his back for 40 seconds, right? I'm gonna go ahead out and say this right now. I don't think that killed this man. I think this man had a existing condition, whether it was known or not, that took his life. Seemed like to me, from looking at the limited amount of video that's out here, he had something. It's like he went into cardiac arrest. Now I will say something, in defense of him. Now, this guy said he couldn't breathe, and you heard labored breathing and gurgling. That should have been reason to take your leg off of him and see if something was wrong. Then to have him sitting here after you arrested him, motionless, after being, like the lady said, belligerent, you would have seen something's wrong. Another thing is, why was he just sat on that dirty ass ground like that? Once you got him handcuffed, why you didn't bring him to his feet? That's the two major issues I have with the way they conducted this situation. Now, a lot of people say something about, the guy said, when he said he can't breathe, and then they got done, the guy said, and that's the story, meaning everybody said he can't breathe. People have an issue with that. Another thing is, and I'm going to get back to what I just said with that. Another thing about this is the other cop, they'll make an issue about the other cop telling him to shut the F up. Now, that was unprofessional. Shouldn't have did that. But the part where the guy says, oh, that's the story, when everybody says they can't breathe, you see a lot of people doing that in a lot of these arrest videos and stuff, even when they're not even on them, they say they can't breathe. And that statement right there, they look at it as, just something people say nowadays. Either way, you could see this guy was in some type of respiratory distress if they was paying attention. I don't think they were. And this guy lost his life. But even with him being in that type of distress, I don't think it was nothing they could have did, because I honestly believe he went into cardiac arrest. You see, he had a little bit of a stomach on him. I think also he was suffering from some type of mental psychosis or mental breakdown. We don't know. The whole video footage is not out with the encounter. It's only when the second officer came in there, was already an officer in there. He was already belligerent. You don't know until the body cam come out, and they said Canton, City of Canton said they're going to be transparent with it. But they brought up police reform. Now, I'm going to tell you something. They kept bringing up George Floyd. These are two separate cases, and they're kind of different, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Because one guy held his foot on George Floyd's neck. You know what I'm saying? Even though the man was going through something, he didn't take him serious. That's the thing. These people are not being taken serious a lot of times. And I think it all comes down to the officer and how they feel about, doing arrest and what they come across. Everybody's experience is different out there, and they deal with it accordingly to how they see fit and what they went through. Is it right? No, it's not right. But we do need police reform here. And if anything this falls on anybody, it falls on the people in power. Now I'm gonna bring up Kamala Harris because her dumb ass was over there at the Tyree Nichols case. Remember that? She at the funeral in front of his parents and everything. I'm gonna go to Congress and push for what is it? Transparency, and I'm also push for police reform. And Joe's gonna sign it. Everybody clap. Typical politician bullshit. Saying something in the hour of darkness, trying to bring light to a situation, but not gonna do shit. We ain't heard nothing from her or anything about that with the reform ever since that happened. That was what, almost 2 years ago? It's very simple. Don't put your knee in people's backs no more. You can make that a national mandate right now with a stroke of a pen. They don't. Everybody running up on these people making arrests, every situation is different. They're not going to change. And I said this a long time ago, and I court flacked about that. They're not going to change this stuff. Long as people keep doing crimes, people get victimized and stuff like that, they're going to use it as an excuse not to do nothing. Fear, confusion, and greed is what powers people to ignore the cries of the innocent out here in this country. It is. Now, like I said, I think some type of illness or condition cost this man his life. I think he had some type of mental breakdown, and we'll see when the camera footage come out. But the cops was unprofessional with what they said. You know what I'm saying? And them standing around after they arrest the person and not know how to do any type of CPR or anything like that. He didn't have a pulse. Yeah, I didn't detect the pulse on him. But wouldn't that make you like go faster and like be like, okay, besides calling EMTs, do some type of aid rendering at that time? See, the thing is, when you come across people and, you know, officers see some of the craziest encounters with other human beings, there has to be some type of protocol in case something goes wrong besides shooting them. You know what I'm saying? Now, the guy was big. He had some size on him. You see, when they was arresting him, he was going all over that place. They had to wrestle with him and stuff. That pisses people off. They don't feel like you're not following the law for order. But I think this guy had some type of mental problem. All in all, man, I don't think, these cops are on paid administrative leave. I don't think no charge to be brought up on them because depending on what comes back, I think, in my honest opinion, something was wrong with him long before, he got put in handcuffs and put on the ground, and whatever it was, it took his life. But I mean, the whole thing in a nutshell is tragic. And you'll see a lot of people act crazy and stuff because they keep pushing the George Floyd narrative behind this. Because like the lady said, we're not comparing apples to apples, but I mean, it's like George Floyd. But why you bring it up? It's the media. We'll see. But like I said, man, it's unfortunate this happened to this gentleman, Frank Tyson. May he rest in peace. We'll see what comes out of this. I'm Stock Market Steve for the Dynamic Region channel. As always, like, comment, share, and subscribe. See you in the next video. Take care.